Hey, I'm glad to have you stopping by. I'm John Zidar, aka the StockWizard. This is On Top and Hot, where we like to focus in on hot penny stocks. You see, I'm a day trader, and I primarily trade options and stocks under $5. And I'm always looking for a hot penny stock to share with you, so that we can both take advantage of it. Well, I've got a real interesting one for us. This is ticker LPTX Leap Therapeutics. Now, don't go looking for this tomorrow. It won't be there. They've got a new name and a new ticker. We're going to talk about that. LPTX is a research and development biotech biopharma company. That means that they are looking for a magic drug but haven't got it yet. They're looking for cancer-fighting drugs, and they're spending a lot of money doing it, and they're not making any money because they haven't got anything on the market yet. Now, the company had news come out today, which is why she was running so bloody hot. She was up almost 500% today, going from 40 cents yesterday to like $2.60 today. And she has pulled back a little bit, but she is showing a lot of heat. The funny thing is that the news had nothing to do with cancer or drugs. Nope. Had to do with their treasury. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? They added a crypto to their treasury. Which one? ZCASH. You ever heard about it? I've heard a little bit, but we'll talk about it. Not much, but I do want to fill you in on what they're doing. But what you need to know right now is ZCASH is on fire. Oh my God, and I don't know why. Couple months ago, ZCASH was at $40 a token, and over the weekend she caught fire, hitting over $700, and this company put over $50 million into ZCASH just a little while ago. So they just made a killing here. But I think there's a good reason why you may not want to get into the company, and I'm going to share that with you here right now. So LPTX Leap Therapeutics, based here in the United States, she's still bouncing around right now, currently at $2.05, up almost 370%, jumping over $1.60 so far. Now, this is a hot penny stock on the major exchange. She's on the NASDAQ, which is going to give you benefits over those penny stocks on the OTC. First off, there's no transaction fees up on the major exchange. You get to buy and sell your shares for free, basically. You get to trade these pre-market, after-market. Never get to do that with OTC stocks. There's also a lot more money, a lot more volume, and a lot more rules up on the major exchange. And all of that plays into our favor. So personally, I like trading these penny stocks on the major exchange more than the ones on the OTC, but I do trade both. So as I said, this company is a cancer-fighting drug company that hasn't found anything yet. And I'm not even sure that this description is current, but we do have some current news about their drugs. So we're looking at news that goes back to August, and all of it is important, but we don't have to dive into each piece here. But we are going to consider their most recent financial results, their final clinical data on their cancer-fighting drug. They did just get a $59 million private placement, an investment into the company. They turned around and used $50 million of that to buy Zcash, a crypto, adding that to their treasury. They brought on some digital executives, if you will, people that know what to do with that treasury. And rather than dive into every single piece of news, they've talked about those in these most recent pieces up here. So diving into the piece that came out today, lots has happened. As announced earlier today, the company has changed their name today to Cyberpunk Technologies from Leap Therapeutics to reflect the strategic focus on acquiring the digital asset ZEC, Z-E-C, participating in the development of Zcash and supporting their values of privacy and liberty. The company will begin trading on the NASDAQ tomorrow under a new ticker that will be ticker CYPH. So don't be using ticker LPTX tomorrow. It won't be there. It will be ticker CYPH. The company's ongoing cancer research and development operations will be conducted under a wholly owned subsidiary that will take the name Leap Therapeutics. So all the assets with regards to their cancer research and this drug is going into one little tidy box, their subsidiary, and they're putting that over there, just off on the side right now. This past month has been transformative for the company. marking it with their $59 million private placement led by Winklevoss Capital and successfully deploying $50 million to build out their digital asset treasury designed to create long-term shareholder value focused on active participation in the development of Zcash and acquiring ZEC. Now, myself, I think this is going to become their new operations working with Zcash. I think that little subsidiary over there is going to be sold off to somebody. I'm just thinking out loud here, folks. They tell us here that the company has purchased about 200,000 of the Zcash coins for approximately $50 million. That is about $245 a piece. They have appointed some digital asset executives to take care of these new responsibilities. They just did that yesterday. They did just present final clinical data for their cancer drug. I don't know what it was. I haven't dove into it. I think they're getting rid of it. I don't think we really need to concern ourselves with it. But if you want, there's a lot of information here about that. Now, they give us their financials down here, which give you a little bit more insight about that drug subsidiary. I'm thinking net loss was $3.3 million for this last quarter for the company, compared to over $18 million for the same period last year. Ooh, that's saving us about $15 million. That ain't bad. Research and development expenses were only $1.2 million for this last quarter, compared to virtually $15 million for the same period last year. That's another $14 million that they just saved. Now, they tell us the reason for that decrease in the research and development expenses was primarily due to a $5 million decrease in clinical trial costs. They're not testing the drugs as often. And a decrease of $4 million in manufacturing costs. They're not making the drug anymore, or not as much. Sounds like a wind down to me. They tell us there was also a decrease of about $3.5 million in payroll and other related expenses due to the decrease of employees working. Yeah, they got a skeleton crew just keeping things together so it looks attractive enough to sell. I think that's what they're doing. Nobody has said that. I'm just seeing what I see. Now, they tell us before they got that $59 million investment, they had about $10 million roughly cash on the books. Now, if they spent $50 million on Zcash, that means they should have about $8-9 million left over. So we should have about $17-18 million in cash right now. That's the way it looks to me. So the one other thing we really need to know is, what is Zcash? Right, here we are looking at a stock company, but before we can really know much about it, we have to learn about where they're putting all their money. They've put it into a cryptocurrency that most of us have never heard of, Zcash. So now we've got to do our due diligence on the crypto to see if we like it, see if it's worthy of all the money that they're putting into it. And is this really where they're going to be spending all their time now? Is this going to be their new operations? Which means we need to know a lot more about it than just the basics. So here's some information about Zcash, which is so much like Bitcoin, but different. Zcash is one of the oldest and most respected privacy-preserving blockchains, launched in 2016 as a fork of Bitcoin with advanced cryptography that enables selective transparency, need-to-know basis. Built on the same sound monetary principles as Bitcoin with a fixed 21 million coin supply, just like Bitcoin, Zcash introduced a breakthrough in privacy technology through the use of zero-knowledge proofs, allowing transactions to be verified without revealing sender, receiver, or the amount to everybody, only those who need to know. This innovation has since influenced the entire cryptographic landscape, inspiring privacy advancements across other blockchains like Ethereum and Solana. Oh, we do like our privacy here in America. Since its inception, Zcash has processed tens of millions of transactions and consistently ranked among the top privacy coins by market capitalization. Its underlying protocol continues to evolve with major upgrades, including the Halo 2, a trustless recursive proof system that eliminates the need for trusted setup ceremonies and enhances scalability, Did you just understand what I said? I didn't. Being honest. Nearly a decade after launch, Zcash remains one of the few digital assets with the potential for both Bitcoin-level decentralization along with cutting-edge privacy, which Bitcoin can't give, offering real utility and private yet audible digital transactions. Cyberpunk technology sees Zcash as a digital privacy in asset form. Think about that. Digital privacy in asset form. In a world where Big Brother, if not everybody, is watching everything we're doing now. And the last thing you want people to know is where you're putting your big money. People don't like to be watched when they're moving big money. I'm sorry, they just don't. And this gives us the privacy that we're looking for. Bitcoin has proven to be digital gold. Zcash also represents an important hedge against the transparency of Bitcoin and the existing financial infrastructure in an AI-abundant future. Where privacy is going to be very difficult to find, you may find it here. And this could be a very strong move for the company. I do believe it is a first mover advantage. I don't think anybody else is working with Zcash, but then what do I know? There's a lot of companies out there upgrading cryptos to their treasuries, and there's a lot of cryptos out there. So I can't keep up with all of them. But seriously, in my opinion, I think they are going to get rid of the subsidiary. They're going to get out of the cancer-making drug business, and they're going to go strictly into cryptocurrency. They're going to use their assets to make money. Now, I'm not crazy about that. You know, you have no product, you have no service. All you're doing is using your money to make money. Using your money to make money. But should I really complain? Why am I in the stock market? I'm here to make money. And how do we do that? We share in the profits of companies making money. Do I care how they're making their money? Not really. Nah, you don't have to have a product or a service. If you can take your assets and keep turning them over, making more and more money, and I get to make money from that, you go, brother. I'm there with you, by all means. All right, let's get some more information on this company now. So before we dive into the stock of the company, let's talk a little bit more about Zcash. I didn't know what to tell you about Zcash because I don't know a lot about cryptos. But when I did my Google search, I saw there was a lot of hoopla about this collaboration between Leap and Zcash, which was good to see. But I also saw that Zcash has got a lot going on right now because of those privacy issues. They have become a concern. There are other crypto coins out there with privacy attachments like Dash and Monero. Well, all of these coins have been catching heat, which is catching attention, which is actually causing them to run on the charts. Zcash a few months ago was like $40, and over this last weekend it went up over $750. And right now Zcash is bouncing up over $550. So if this company invested $50 million for each coin at $245, they've doubled their money right now, right? They've got about $50 million in profit. So that is looking really, really good for them. So what is it that I'm concerned about? And I'm saying, you may not want to get into this company. Well, let's go take a look at the stock now. Taking a look at the relative volume for the company, over the last 30 days, she's been doing about 5.5 million shares a day as an average, which isn't bad on the major exchange. But look at today. Whoa, she's still jumping. Wow. We're up over 750 million shares today. 770 million shares basically. Now the big question is, how many shares are on the market? They tell us our outstanding share count as of May of this year was 40 million. Well, remember the news. We just had a 58 million private placement come in, right? Well, that private placement wasn't just money being given to them. No, that investor got a whole bunch of shares. It was close to about 20 million shares. Not to mention enough warrants to buy 80 million more shares down the road. Well, that's all dilution. So we went from roughly 20 million to 40 million. That doubled it right there. And then there's 80 million sitting out there in those warrants waiting to be exercised down the road. Could be a few months, could be a few years. But it gets worse, folks. When we dive over here into our disclosures, they've had a whole bunch of them come out here today. And I couldn't go through all of them, but I got a few of them here I want to share with you. We've got this 424B5 right here. They are telling us this came out in the afternoon, right? The stock is running all day. It is going up and up. She keeps getting halted. She jumps again. She gets halted. She jumps again. It is looking wonderful. Then all of a sudden it starts to fall. And we're wondering, why is it falling? So I took a quick glance. I didn't see any new news. It was this filing. Came out late in the afternoon and started to make the stock fall. But it turned around and started to climb again. And I don't think it should. I think we need to be concerned about this. They are going to put up to $200 million worth of common stock on the market. They want to sell these at about 43 cents a share. Let's just make the math easy. Call them 50 cents a share. That is 400 million more shares. How many shares did I say were here? Do you remember? 40. 40 million jumping up to 400. It'll actually be 440 million. Folks, that is 10 times more shares. That is 10 times dilution. So if the stock is at $2, divide by 10, it's worth 20 cents. Now, they're not putting all of those shares on the market at one time. They're going to do it when they need the cash. Because when they sell shares, the company gets all the money. When they sell them to us, when they sell them to big whale investors for private investments, all those shares always cause dilution, and we always pay for it. The company gets money, we get dilution. So this is coming on top of what we've already got right now. But we aren't finished yet. Jumping on back to these disclosures, I do believe it was this one here. I think it's this one here. They are voting. Yes, they have a shareholders meeting. This is going to be in December 15th. This shareholder meeting is going to happen. They are voting on quite a few different things. First off, they want to increase the authorized share count from 250 million to 500 million. That doesn't hurt us as long as they don't put them all on the market. That gives them more shares to work with. They can use them for enticements to attract big execs into the company. They can use them as money to buy or acquire other companies, or they can put them on the market to make money. They are also going to be voting on a reverse stock split. This is in December, so we don't have to panic yet. They will be looking at a 1-to-5 up to a 1-to-20 reverse stock split to be used anytime within a year of this date. And it can be used anytime by the directors at their discretion. They also are voting on those equity incentive plans. That's probably where those extra shares are coming into the play. They use those to entice executives to come on board. They are also going to vote on increasing their maximum shareholding to over 19.99%. This is being done for warrants. When they exercise these warrants, they get a whole heck of a lot of money. They get a lot of money for nothing. And we get a lot of dilution because every warrant is turned into a new share. Well, when they start doing this, somebody may end up owning more than 20% of the company. Right now, nobody can own more than 19.99% of the company. If you own more than 20%, it's possible there could be a change of control. Somebody else could be in charge of the company. And that vulnerability is possible now if this gets passed. And then the last one here, if enough people don't show up to the meeting, they can cancel it and push it to another time. So that's what you got going on here, folks. You've got a company that is dealing with cancer drugs, but it looks like they're probably, and I'm just thinking out loud, this is only my opinion, probably going to get rid of that and start focusing on their crypto assets. They're getting into Zcash, which has privacy attached to it, which is an issue right now. Maybe Zcash will be in trouble. Maybe they won't allow these sort of cryptos out there. I don't know. That's all up in the air. The company seems to have lots of money right now. They've cut down their expenses. They've cut down on how much they've been losing. So financially, the company is looking pretty good. From a shareholder's dilution standpoint, it looks like it's only going to get worse. So it's a bit scary right now. As an investor, to get into this and hold this stock for a while, Nah, I don't think so. As a day trader playing the heat in the bounces, oh yeah, I think this is going to have a lot of heat and a lot of bounces. So I'll be watching it for that. But as an investor, I'm not going to just buy this stock and hold it. I'm scared to death of the dilution, big time. All right, let's go take a look now at the chart for ticker LPTX, which will be CPYH tomorrow. No, CYPH. I almost had me. That's LPTX, Leap Therapeutics. We're going to chart this in my free trading platform, Think or Swim, which you can only get from Schwab. Now, this is the last day we can chart LPTX, right? They're changing the ticker tomorrow. It's going to be ticker CYPH. And along with that new ticker, there's a very strong likelihood you're going to get a new chart. That is to say, it's going to be blank. There's not going to be anything in it. So let's pay close attention to what we got here. LPTX, this is a one-day, one-year chart. Full year ago, we have a 52-week high of $3.61. In January, she dropped from roughly that $3.60 down to about 50 cents. I have no clue why. From there, she continued trickling downhill to our 52-week low of 22 cents. Off of that low bubble, she bounced up to our 50-day MA and basically just hung out there for many a months at about 30 cents. Then about here in September, she got a little warm, got some heat, some excitement. I don't know why, but she went from 30 cents up to about $1 over the week. That was a 300% run. She then came down to the 200-day MA, which we expected, right? This is a falling 200. You don't break out over a falling 200. You just break through it and come back down. She did exactly what she was supposed to. When she came back down, she just laid on that 200 until she came all the way down to our 50 again. And right here, when the news came out, we exploded from 40 cents up to $2.60. You're looking at over a 500% run there, folks. Hot. Speaking of hot, look at these oscillators. Every single one of them is going parabolic. They are all super duper strong right now. Let's come on down to our 6-month, 4-hour view. Well, not a whole lot going on. Even when the 200-day MA got close, the price showed a little bit of excitement, but it didn't go anywhere. It just laid down here month after month after month at about 30 cents. Then here in September, we had a big rip. She went from about 30 cents up to, wow, whoa, $3.75. Folks, that's a 1,200% rip. Oh my God. Then she came all the way back down so fast, right down to our 200-day MA, which she has been pretty much hanging around until today when she jumped from 40 to $2.60. Looking hot all over again. Now, what I did today for my supports and resistances is I used this big rip right there, but I didn't use the whole thing. I just used a solid bar. I grabbed my Fibonacci and I poked the top of that bar down to where this run started. Try that again. From there to there. And this is what we used today over at Pennybois. We were trading off of this. Now, I'm going to pull these down right now because it's just easier to see what it is I want to talk about. So let's come on down now to our 1 hour, 20-day view. Whew. Look how flat that is. I mean, really, folks, she's flat with a downhill trend, hitting a low here of 39 cents, hanging around 30, 40 cents, not going anywhere. And then today she just ripped. And we had lots of halts today. We must have had a dozen halts. Now, folks, the one thing I want to tell you about these halts is that they can be real money makers. Matter of fact, I want to come all the way down to our 5-day, 5-minute. When a stock is halted, everything on the chart freezes. So you can look at it very, very closely. And you can see where all the lines are pointing. Now, I didn't keep up with this one because I was doing so much today. But these two blue arrows are two halts that happened today. I put a green line on this halt right there for a very particular reason. You can make some real good money playing halted stocks. And this is one of the safest plays I know. You watch a stock get halted. You see it's froze. You see it's stuck right there at $1.44. That's its high. Mark it, $1.44. Don't do anything, just mark it. After the halt unhalts, maybe it jumps up. If it does, don't worry about it. What we're looking for is a fall. When the stock falls and then bounces back up, when it starts to close in on that high of $1.44, you get your bid in 2 cents over the high. So if it's $1.44, we're going to put in our bid at $1.46. And we're going to put our stop loss in at $1.40. I mean, we're just a nickel, just a couple pennies up and a couple pennies down. That's it. Very tight, close play. Well, folks, normally when the price gets up over that, if your price, your bid is 2 cents over the high of the day, that is a catalyst. It will eagerly stretch just to get that 2 cents over the high. And when it hits it, boom, you become the new high of the day. That is a catalyst. And that's when you get a zoom. Boom, a big jump, and you sell on your green bars. Don't ride it out, folks. Me, I like to get in and take that gain because this was another halt. She halted here. So as she's climbing, you take your gains. Now she comes down, she falls. You know, we put another line here. We mark this off so when she breaks that high, we put in a bid just 2 cents over. But you got to get those bids in before she breaks her high. And you can't put it in too early. You know, this is at $1.44. Let's say she fell down to $1. And you say, I'm going to put in my bid for $1.46, even though it's at $1. It won't take your bid. It says that's way too far up there. You can't do it. You've got to wait till it gets closer. So she was running pre-market, just warming up. And we had noticed it pre-market. I think I put out a hot chart early in the morning. I like to just take a picture of a chart that looks like it's got something going on so that you can be aware of it. Doesn't have to have news, doesn't have to have filings. All it needs is heat in the chart. And folks, you can see this was riding that 9-day MA. Even when we had a red bar, it didn't go nowhere. It stayed right on that 9-day MA. When she did fall, she fell down to the 20, hanging onto that 9. She never let go of the 9-day MA. She just pushed off of the 20. And when she did push, the 20 was a lot thicker and stronger than the 9, so she could push off it harder. See the size of these bars? See how big they are? Then she fell back down to a very supportive 9. Didn't go under it. Only the wicks are falling under it here, not the full bars. That's what we're watching for. Floating, and then right here. What's that line for? That's when the filing came out about the $200 million worth of shares they were going to be putting on the market. What happened? She dropped. Of course she dropped. She went from $2.34 down to $1.71. That was a 60-cent drop. Now, when I was looking at it, doing my math, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a drop from $2.50 down to 20 cents. I thought it was going for it, and she stopped. And she pushed back up to a new high after this filing came out, and she hit $2.54. Now she's pulled back down, coming back down to this high here, real close. That's $1.44, and she's working on it. Now, to me, looks like things are coming down. I see my 200 haul is rolling over. My 50-day MA has already come down. My price is underneath the 9 and the 20. My 200 is still pushing up, but I can see it's arching now. She's starting to roll. All of my oscillators have started to roll. They're starting to look weak. Now, if someone sits down like we just did and you figure out all the shares that they are adding to the share structure, when you consider the reverse stock split that's on the horizon, you've got to be a little leery about getting into this stock for a long hold, right? But there could be a lot of volatility. And that's what I'm interested in, is the volatility. But I want to definitely warn you about getting into it for a long hold. Between the dilution of the $200 million worth of new shares and the reverse stock split around the corner, I'm pretty sure you can count on that. That isn't going to be a good thing for anybody holding this stock for a long hold. Would you agree? Of course you would. So do some more due diligence, folks. You know I didn't cover everything. I just haven't got the time. It's your money anyways. You need to be making the final decisions. Remember, folks, the more you know, the more you're going to grow. See ya.